your store. And if you're an Apple fan, that we know that the WWDC event will be held during June 10 to 14, and it appears that probably the iPhone 5s or the 6 whatever will be released during like September or October, including the iPad mini with Retina display. But things can change. Probably you might get the new iPad mini with Retina display or the new iPad 5 in June, whatever. Nobody really knows about that. Many people ask me, Mark, should I buy the iPhone 5 or the iPad mini today? Or should I wait and see? I mean, wait for the 5S or wait for the iPad mini with Retina display? It depends on you. Because today I'm going to give you 3 quick principles, and after you finish listening my speech, you can digest everything you have listened and make your own choice. Because nothing is always right and nothing is always wrong. It depends on you. Number 1, there are 2 different types of limitations. For me, I'll make a long story short that yes, you should wait for the iPhone 5s or 6 or iPad mini with Retina display. The first limitation is called hardware limitation, or I call actual limitation or the true limitation. Let's say you've been using iPhone 4s or iPhone 5s, and then today you borrow your friends the iPhone 4, you feel like, well, why it's so slow? Or you have the MacBook Air with flash storage or some call solid state, whatever. It's fast, right? It's very fast, up to 4 times, blah blah blah. And then today you just borrow friends or your daughters or your son, well, can I borrow your regular MacBook Pro with rotational? You feel like, well, it's very slow. Same thing. Do me a favor, just go to the Apple store, just borrow anyone, so where there's any friends, just borrow the iPad 1s or the iPod Touch 4. You feel like they are very slow. So for these, I don't blame anyone. We call hardware limitation that need to be upgraded. Secondly, now we're going to go deeper and a little bit tricky. I call this software limitation, or Mark Pubate call sometimes marketing limitation. Apple want you to buy new models every year, so every 2 years. If you have the iPhone 4S, you can do Siri, right? But how come you can't do that on your iPad 2? Same story. You have to dig deeper into those hidden details. You must know the difference between marketing approach and technical approach. I'm going to leave this like that, and you can figure it out by yourself. So eventually we have to buy a new model. Like in the future, in the very near future, the iPhone 4 becomes a paperweight, of course, including the iPad 1. Today you buy new games for the iPad 1. Even though the game has nothing to do with camera, but you can, like Marvel Initiative, you try to install the iPad 1, it doesn't say on the screen that, well, the iPad 1 is not strong enough to run this game. It doesn't say it that way, but it say, well, in order to run this game, you need a front-facing camera. What's going on here? I finished this game like 5 times. Have never seen such, states or requirement for camera in the games anywhere. It requires front-facing camera. iPhoto needs front-facing camera. You can't run on iPad. It's same thing. It's called marketing approach. So there is a common denominator between like marketing and software limitation. The answer is yes. You should wait. Buy the latest model. Skip the older one. And lastly, this is from my heart. It's from my experience. About a decade working for Apple. If you want to buy any Apple product, try to buy the least expensive one, as cheap as possible, because the chance things very fast. You buy the top of the line iPad, like 128 gigabytes, iPad 4, whatever. Next year they release the 5, 6, and then what about the top of the line? You go to the electronics store. You can't believe how much you're going to get when you want to resell it. So try to buy as cheap as possible. Try to buy entry level. You gotta try to figure it out. Don't just, okay, I buy 64, 128, and you don't store movie, you don't do like hardcore gaming experience. It's a waste. Waste of money, waste of space, everything. So now you got 3 primary principles that you have to figure out later on if you want to proceed or not. Nothing is always right and nothing is always wrong. Sometimes older models might have something better than the latest one. Like for me personally, I work for a Mac store, so I can have access to all Mac gadgets. I can bring them home, play around, and everything that I can, but I don't like the iPad 4. I'm still stick with the iPad 2. I love the screen resolution, I love the way it's thin, it's light, it's kind of, it fits me, that's it. It depends. Probably the iPad 4 fits you, probably the iPad 3, probably the first iPad, whatever. Remember the iPod Nano? Some say they like, well, they prefer the one that looks like watches, they don't like the latest one. And some like the one before that because it has camera. What about the MacBook White? Someone like the one before, the one with unibody because they prefer the Firewise 400 Flake. Or some people at the store, they don't like the Mac Mini 2011, they like the 2010 because it has the built-in optical drive. Nothing is always right and nothing is always wrong. Remember, first of all, software limitation, hardware limitation. You have to figure out the difference between software or marketing approach. And thirdly, want to buy something, try to save your money. If you have a chance to buy refurbished one, buy refurbished. It doesn't make any difference. Buy refurbished one, but you gotta be if you want to buy a second-hand Mac, you gotta buy it with caution. But for refurbished, fine. Try to buy as cheap as possible because they change very fast. And because once you purchase that thing, it's difficult to get the money back or resell to someone. It's like it's gonna cause lots of hassle. Thanks for watching.